All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Christy Taylor, Senior Director of Employer Engagement for the Detroit Regional Chamber's Talented Initiative. Our work is focused on increasing the number of residents with a post-high school degree or credential in order to meet our employers' talent needs and improve economic mobility in our region. One way we do this is by engaging adult learners, and today we're highlighting some resources available to employers to support this work. I'm so excited for today's panel. We have an excellent group, and I'm happy to introduce my colleague, Vester Waters, who will tell you more about the Chamber's adult attainment strategy and then kick off our panel discussion. Today's session is being recorded, and we'll send follow-up materials after the event. If you have questions throughout, please drop them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. And then when we wrap up our pre-recorded questions, we'll make sure to answer any audience questions that come up. So if things come up as our speakers are talking, just drop that in the chat and I will make sure we get to that at the end. So now I'll turn it over to Vester to tell you more about our adult attainment strategy and introduce our speakers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Christy. Again, my name is Vester Waters, and I'm the manager of adult degree completion here at Detroit Reconnect. We work really to reskill or upskill employees with Christy, and then connecting them to various opportunities. Even those who maybe didn't complete high school but want to go to college, we have a strong partnership with Michigan Reconnect as well. And so again, today we really want to highlight some practical examples of programs and resources that are designed to support adult learners here in this region. So really want to kick it off with introductions from our panelists. So if you could share a little bit about yourself and your organization, and also your background and as far as how you got into this work. And so I'm going to start with Jacqueline. If you could give a quick introduction of yourself.
Thank you, Vester. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Salazar. I am a project manager for the GEM grant. GEM stands for Global Epicenter of Mobility, and it is a federal grant, all focused on business attraction, business retention, talent attraction, and talent retention for our Southeast Michigan region. I came to this work. I have spent an entire career plus in talent acquisition, did some work in workforce development very early on in my career with adult education and other workforce development initiatives, and happy to be supporting employers and all things talent attraction and retention for our region right here.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alfonso Amos. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Detroit Regional Chamber, for having me. As I shared, my name is Alfonso Amos, and I'm the Executive Director of Urban Alliance Detroit. We're a national nonprofit that's headquartered in Washington, D.C. And at Urban Alliance, we're dedicated to building a diverse next generation workforce. We provide essential job skills training, mentorship, pre-apprenticeships, and paid internships to high school youth and young adults, so ages 16 to 24, from under-resourced communities, helping them achieve economic independence and upward mobility. So I've been in this work for over 17 years across education, nonprofit, for-profit, and government sectors. And my background has always been rooted in the passion for economic equity and social justice, and which is why this role at Urban Alliance is a perfect fit for me. It allows me to bridge my passion for youth development and my dedication to helping young people build sustainable careers. Before joining Urban Alliance, I served as the National Director for Volunteer and Community Engagement for HBCU VC, where I worked on reimagining the innovation economy and developing the next generation of venture capital leaders in communities that face barriers to accessing capital. I also worked as the Program Director for Streetwise Partners Michigan, where I led workforce development programs and forged strategic partnerships to help build historically underserved communities and help them gain access to essential skills. So it's great to be here, and I look forward to sharing more about our work and how we're building a strong, diverse workforce.
And hi, everyone. I'll be brief because I know that you all got our bios and LinkedIn links earlier. But my name is Clarinda Harrison. I am the Director of Talent Development and Programming at Michigan Central. My role encompasses focusing on pre-K-12, adult reskilling and upskilling, as well as post-secondary development opportunities for fellowships, internships, and project-based learning. Michigan Central was catalyzed through an investment by Ford Motor Company in 2018 and has now morphed into a wholly owned subsidiary called Michigan Central, which manages the 30-acre innovation district. My role is really to make certain that the economic development activities that are happening both in attracting and retaining and growing founders at our site at New Lab at Michigan Central, or supporting larger corporate nameplates that are our founding partners located at the station, have the talent that they need now and in the future in order to ensure that Detroit and Michigan remains the global epicenter of deep tech and mobility technology.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for those introductions. And also here at the chamber, again, as Clarinda mentioned, so really thinking about the economic state of Michigan and that correlation between education and the talent pipeline is so important. And so here we are under the 60 by 30 initiative that aims to have 60% of Michiganders with the post-secondary credential by 2030. And so that is a huge driving force of our work, in addition to the economic mobility and social opportunities as well. So I'm curious to know, how did your organizations land on adult learners as their target audience?
So I'll kick that one off, Vester. So GEM is actually a regional grant and a regional initiative. And for the talent pillar specifically, SEMCA, Southeast Michigan Community Alliance, is the leader in this pillar. And SEMCA does, it has a history as a Michigan Works and Workforce Development Agency of supporting adult learners as well through a variety of programs. And, all of them have acronyms attached to them, such as the WIOA Workforce Initiatives, PATH, one of the newer ones, Wayne Link. So there's a number of economic initiatives, whether they're from the federal level or the state level, that filter down into our Michigan Works system. So that's how SEMCA became part of the GEM initiative. And we do this in partnership with all of the Michigan Works in the Southeast Michigan region. So all of them have a hand in supporting this initiative and in supporting adult learners.
And I can jump in there and share how we got our start. So we started our work in the youth space. And so at Urban Alliance, we expose young adults and young people to early career opportunities, again, through that paid internship, mentorship, and professional development. And our flagship program was working with our high school seniors. But what we learned is that after our high school seniors left us, whether they went off to post-secondary training or skilled trades, or they went straight into the workforce, that they still needed our support and our help beyond just high school graduation. And so we started to work with them, connecting them to internship experiences, whether that was in the summer when they come back from college, or if they got hired after their internship experience with us, they got hired straight into their employer partner after high school. What's next, right? And so we found ourselves having to help develop them and understand what's next. And then as we work with our employer partners, we kept hearing that the college graduates that were coming through their doors were not prepared with the essential skills needed to sustain employment. And so that let us know that we had to pivot a little bit, not just do the work with our students, but also work with other young adults throughout our region and making sure that they had the essential skills. We also hear a lot of folks from underserved communities talking about not having access to get into the door for internship experiences a lot, or actual employment at some of the companies we work with. And so really using our social capital to move the needle forward for these young people. And it just happened organically. Again, we were already working with those young people. We work with our young people at least 2 to 4 years post our programming. We track them, and then we make sure they stay connected either on whatever their post-high school plan was. And so if they told us their post-high school plan was to go off to college, we're tracking that. If you said 2 years, okay, 2 years we're tracking, do you complete? And then really keeping that system going is kind of how our work got started, working with adult learners.
All right. And for us, it really is an imperative. We have now, after 2 years of opening new lab at Michigan Central, which is really our living lab. It allows for founders to come and test and commercialize their technologies while also receiving the resources they need in order to continue to grow and stay in Michigan. And so recognizing that we want to build this ecosystem. We're well on our way to doing so with 145 member companies. We know that the type of talent that's needed in order to sustain this economy as it is evolving requires that we take a stance in making sure that the talent side is taken care of. And so we partner with the local Michigan Works agencies, nonprofits to help us identify local talent. But the impetus of our work is really just to make certain that this innovation campus and our future of mobility industry continues to thrive. And so that's how we got into the work. A lot of what we've done thus far is really leveraging the foundation that already exists in Michigan and making sure that our founders know that those things exist. And where we have found gaps, we've spun up new initiatives in order to support both training individuals, but also de-risking hiring folks here in Detroit and throughout the region.
That's fantastic. And here at Detroit Reconnect, we really take a multi-generational approach to post-secondary education. The Detroit Promise is also housed here in the chamber. So when we're out in the community or if we're talking to adults, we want them to know that, hey, there are opportunities for your children as well as yourself. So really leaning into that multi-generational approach. But that experience can be different for adults versus traditional age students. So I'm just kind of curious, and I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to start with Clarinda on this one. How have you found the experience to be different working with adults in comparison to traditional age students?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we work across the gamut, and there are some distinct differences, but I would say the unifying force between all of them is really that they want to participate in what the future of technology looks like. They don't want to be excluded. They all are trying to find the most accessible and barrier-free access points in order to ensure that they have the skills ready and needed in order to participate. But how we work in pre-K 12 is we really partner with Detroit Public Schools Community District and get in the schools helping to retrain teachers and build new curriculum, add labs in the school. We're focusing on Western International High School right now, and then dedicating our fifth floor space in the station for experiential learning, weekends, evenings, and all throughout the summer so that there is a counterpart education opportunity for students who are also getting that training in their classrooms. For the post-secondary students, we know that 70% of our STEM-based talent goes elsewhere after graduation, and we really work directly to make certain that we stop that bleeding and find opportunities to expose young talent to Michigan Central. And one example of that is our partnership with Wayne State and Techtown, CEDM, and the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification to stand up the My Mobility Fellowship, which allows for 10 recent graduates from in Michigan and outside of Michigan to partner and be housed within some of our founders for work experience as well as leadership development. So those are some unique examples of how we work differently, but a lot of it really boils down to making sure that there are barrier-free, accessible ways in which people can get the skills that they need and participate in this evolving economy.
And similar to Corinda, one of the most distinct differences we've observed is the level of responsibilities and experience that adult learners bring to the table. While our traditional age students are often still exploring their career paths and gaining foundational skills, our adults are tend to have more life experience, and many of them are already like navigating complexities like family, housing, part-time jobs. Some are already even working some full-time jobs, just low wage paying jobs. So this adds a layer of complexity to our work, but it also presents an opportunity for us to offer a more tailored and holistic approach. So with our adult learners, we find that a stronger emphasis on practical career oriented skills is often needed, along with deeper mentorship and support for balancing multiple commitments. So these young adults are not just looking for job training, but they need real guidance on how to balance their career ambitions along with the immediate challenges that they face day to day in their daily lives, such as transportation, access to internet, right? And so additionally, adult learners often have more specific focused goals in mind. And so unlike our traditional students who may be figuring it out or trying to figure out which career they want to pursue, our adults are typically coming to us more likely to know the direction they want to go in, but just need the necessary tools, connections, and resources to get there. And so this is making it really critical for us to provide those tailored, actionable resources that meet their needs right where they are, whether it's through job placement support, further education opportunities, or skill building in areas like financial literacy and professional development. And so ultimately, while both age groups we work with require mentorship, professional development, and job readiness training, the key difference with adults is their need for a more individualized, results-driven approach that acknowledges their diverse life experiences and challenges. And so at Urban Alliance, we found that with the right support and resources, our adult learners can make tremendous strides towards achieving their long-term career success.
And investor in the work that Michigan Works and SEMCA and GEM is doing, very much to Clarinda's point about accessibility for that adult learner. Obviously, we all know whether it's somebody who started a degree program and wasn't able to finish, or came out of high school and college just wasn't for them. For us, it's about the opportunity to open doors to allow them to stack credentials. We're able to fund short-term training all the way up to master's level courses or coursework. And we provide that training funding in order to do so. And in the GEM work, we're doing everything from curriculum development in partnership with Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce, all the way up to supporting entrepreneurs and residents. So we really are covering the gamut from that, that early learner, the new learner, all the way up, through adult learner and master's program. What we have additionally worked to bring partnerships together so that we're meeting people where they're at. And by that, I mean, for that adult learner, they're working, many of them are already working, and it's hard to, go out and do a training program on top of their 40+ work week and those situations. So we're working in partnership with organizations like the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, the Michigan Workforce Collaborative, Michigan Manufacturers Association, so that we can afford programming for the employee at work and delivering those solutions to them, getting those credential programs all the way from assemblers and fabricators all the way up, cybersecurity programming, software development, automotive service technicians, electrical technicians. We're affording programming in all of these different spaces, specifically in our GEM work. In SEMCA and Michigan Works, regionally, there are apprenticeship programs that are supported. One of the interesting companies that I'm working with built out an IT apprenticeship for somebody who had no experience in that field. Is taking them in and building that credential and building those programs out. So a lot of interesting things that are covering learners and helping meet people where they're at.
A lot of great work happening. So Jacqueline, with that, what does it look like as far as someone engaging with your program? Like, are there eligibility requirements or like criteria? Like, what does that portion look like for those programs?
Goodness, Vester. So there's, because SEMCA at large has a number of different programs in our GEM ecosystem specifically for training and new learning. we're funded for 17 years of age and up, so that really is that adult learner. We created this program to be as accessible and easy as possible. So the requirements are 17 years of age or up, having registered for selective service, being located in our 11 county geographic region, because that's what the GEM ecosystem is all about, is supporting this region. So those requirements are really quite simple. The funding source is, there's some funding that's available for learners who are anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. We do make a determination if they are, by definition, meet the ALICE definition or ALICE index, and that can help determine whether they're awarded $3,000 or $5,000. But in general, we're making it as easy as possible to access the training that is afforded to them.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Alfonso, how about for your program? What does engagement or criteria, eligibility requirements look like for you?
And for our program, it's slightly different because we have two different initiatives for our adult learners. One would be our Connect program, which is in a partnership with Michigan Reconnect. And so that's ages 21 to 24. They're offered a 6-month internship experience, paid internship experience. Let me try iterate that paid piece. Paid internship experience as they're pursuing their associate's degree or industry recognized certificate or certifications. And so our program has them coming in for about 20 hours a week in their internship placement. They do some work readiness training, and then they get an ongoing mentor. That requirement for that program is that they are enrolled in the Michigan Reconnect program, that they're age 21 to 24, and they're currently pursuing a relevant degree or certification. That program empowers participants with real-world experience and professional development, right? And our second initiative would be our summer internship program, where that's open to all young adults ages 18 to 24. That qualification is a very minimum. They just have to legally be able to work in the United States. And they do have to also live in the Southeast Michigan region. And so we try to limit barriers to access to our programming. Again, for some of our employer partners that the young people or young adults may want to be placed in, they may have to do some additional background checks and things like that. Or if you're in a health pathway, you may need to take a TB test or have all of your vaccines. And so it just depends on the career pathway of the learner.
Thanks, Alfonso. And I appreciate you highlighting the paid part. I think about when I was in undergrad and like so many opportunities were unpaid, and they're like, oh, but it's the experience. And it's like, yeah, but my bills still, they don't care about my experience. And as we were talking about like those barriers, sometimes they're caregivers or they have children and just all of these other responsibilities. So I feel like that helps to kind of eliminate one barrier to like gaining the experience and still having some income, coming in. Clarinda, can you talk a little bit about eligibility or criteria for your work?
Yeah, so I'll focus on a few of our signature programs. One is our Talent Innovation Training Fund. This fund is directly targeted to companies, particularly those that are emerging companies or founders that are probably in that phase where they're ready to grow and they just got their first PO or they're testing their technology and they're ready to hire their first few people. And so that fund for companies, the eligibility is that it's a company that is focused on deep technology or mobility technology. Deep technology just means that it's hardware and software as opposed to just a software business. And that's really intentional because we make things in Detroit and in Michigan, and we want to make sure that we look at companies that are focused on advanced manufacturing as well. But those companies can apply through michigancentral.com. We just closed our first round, but we'll be opening our second round very soon. And so you can go to that site and sign up for information when we open the second round of funding. It's $7,500 up to $7,500 per trainee. And that trainee has to be a Detroit resident. And there needs to, be we're looking at ALICE threshold as well. For individuals who are interested in that program, they would just have to go through their Michigan Works office. We partner with Detroit at Work in order to identify talent to make sure we're pulling from the local community. The second program that I want to talk about is our partnership with the University of Michigan Center for Innovation. We are doing tech-based training on our site starting May 31st. Individuals who are interested can go to the University of Michigan Center for Innovation website and sign up to participate in that. And they would then be tied into that programming. And then for all trainees, all individuals receiving training on our campus, we partner with the Detroit Regional Chamber and the Last Mile Education Fund to extend what was formerly just for students who are in post-secondary institutions to also include individuals who are getting training at Michigan Central. So that then allows for direct cash access to learners who have immediate or imminent challenges that they need funding to support. And it is a cash grant that they get within 24 to 48 hours, up to $599 to mitigate any barriers, whether it's transportation, childcare, or just life circumstances that could prevent them from persisting to completion.
Thank you so much for that. And Jacqueline, I know you mentioned a lot of programs, but you all have additional funding for mobility and manufacturing businesses. And so I just want to make sure that you did touch on that. So can you tell us a little bit more about those opportunities as well?
I sure can, Vester. Thank you so much. So one of the initiatives within the GEM ecosystem is the delivery of services to mobility employers. And we built out a mobility talent resource network, which is a business-to-business matchmaking program. So we built out a platform, receive applications from vendors who want to support our mobility and manufacturing businesses, along with business applicants who want to be the awardees of these services. And we support a number of categories, all in the talent attraction and talent retention space, such as human resources consulting, business resource network, similar to what Clarinda said in terms of wraparound services, talent branding, talent intelligence and pipeline management, global talent. So we have a number of categories. Even within those categories, if you think of human resources consulting, we're able to support projects such as, building out your compliance and your employee handbook. It could be performance management systems. It could be adding on new HRIS, human resource information system, systems themselves, implementation, evaluation, all of those kinds of things. So every category that I mentioned has its own subcategories of services. And we are funding up to or in the range of about $50,000 in project value to businesses that apply. And I will share that link in the chat. And that, similar to our other programming, it's a very, very simple eligibility determination. It can be done in about 4 minutes, the application itself. And we want as many employers as is possible to take advantage of that while we have the resources available. So I appreciate you asking, Vester. Thank you so much.
That's fantastic. And also to our attendees, if you do have questions, feel free to start dropping those in the chat. Near the end of the session, we will have a Q&A. So if you are thinking of any questions, feel free to utilize that chat function. Alfonso or Clarinda, do you all offer any resources specifically for employers? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier the Talent Innovation Training Fund that allows for direct investment into companies up to $7,500 per trainee. And so the only caveat again is that you're an emerging company in deep tech and mobility tech, and that you're hiring individuals from Detroit into family sustaining wage jobs. So I will drop in the chat our website, as well as the website for the other program with University of Michigan, so that folks can access that more information.
And our resources are very limited for employers, but we do have the human capital. And so our young people, we're always looking to place our young people with our employer partners who have a need for capacity building, right? And so we love that part. And then we also do a lot of training our employers. So we train them on things of connecting with this generation of learners. So we always come out, we host workshops and things like that. But that's as far as our resources here at Urban Alliance go for our employers.
Thank you both for that. So as we do kind of wind things down, I'm curious about how people can partner with you. And then, like, what support do you need from the business or the education community to continue some of this great work that you all are doing? So I'm gonna kick it to Jacqueline. How can people partner with you?
Sylvester, I shared in the chat the link to the platform that we built out, and any employer can access that and message us directly for support, if they're looking to train their workforce. Additionally, if persons are, fresh out of high school looking for new talent opportunities, new training opportunities, and again, it could be a short-term credential program. I love the cybersecurity programs and tech fundamentals and those kinds of things that give somebody the basis for, their career development. And, they can reach out to us easily at gem@semca.org, and we can support directing them to any of the Michigan Works locations in the region or supporting them directly ourselves. So whether you're, just new talent or whether you're an employer, we have opportunities to support talent at all levels. So we welcome those questions and those applications.
Alfonso?
Yes, people can partner with us as employer partners. We are always looking for hosts for our young people, our adults. So we are always looking for employers to host those. If you don't have the capacity to host because maybe you just don't have it, you don't have the staffing ready or available, sponsor. We're always looking for folks to sponsor interns in any capacity. We also really invite our employers to be a part of our work. And so we're always inviting folks out for a volunteer experience, whether that's our mock interview days, our speed networking, whether that is resume reviews. And so we're always looking for folks to partner with us in that way as well. And so people can reach me at my email that I'll drop into the chat, aamos@urbanalliance.org, or go to our website to learn more about our work and connect with us that way. We're also always looking for folks who are interested in sitting on panels and talking in front of our amazing audience of adult learners and young people that we serve.
And for Michigan Central, we are an open platform. So we work with all businesses that are interested in the industries that we focus on. So there are opportunities for smaller companies to become members and have access to space in our labs at New Lab. Larger companies, we have spaces inside of the station that also allows for companies to tap into the ecosystem. For our talent initiatives, we have a business roundtable that we will be relaunching this quarter. So companies that are interested can partner with us and provide us with insights on what skills are needed, where the gaps are, what are the pain points. And we bring other partners to that table so that we can spin up real-time and innovative solutions like the ones that I've mentioned earlier. And then lastly, you could just contact me if you have an idea or there's an opportunity that you're looking to solve for and you think that we can help. I've dropped my email address in the chat and you can save that and contact me anytime. I'm happy to brainstorm and think about, how to really lead in making sure that we have the tech talent needed in order to fuel our growing industries.
Vester, if you don't mind, I would similar to Alfonso. We do have two that off the top of my head opportunities for employers to engage in panel discussions. One will be coming up in mid-June, and then one is further down the road in August. But if there's any interest, I shared the email address, our general email address in the chat. and anybody who has an interest in participating in those discussions and bringing your employer voice into the picture, we would welcome that as well.
That's awesome. And I think one thing that I really value is the fact of, these are in demand careers, and often like high wage, high paying jobs. And so I think that's also really important as we're talking about not only like the economic state of the region, but just for like families and just their lifestyle and being able to afford the necessities. These are in demand careers that they can actually thrive, and be able to have a good lifestyle off of. And so again, I'm kind of curious, and I'll just open it up to anyone. Do you have any success stories of people who have come through your programs or those who have worked with you? And you can feel free to just come off mute, and share any success stories that you might have.
It looks like we all do, but I'll be really quick. I want to share the story of Miss BB's EV charging. This is a woman who is a returning citizen. She joined our second cohort of the electric vehicle supply equipment technician training program. She finished that program, became certified in it through the Society of Automotive Engineers, or SAE, which holds the credential. And then she opened up her own business, and she has Miss BB's EV Charge, which is a mobile charging company. She has contracts with repair garages and AAA and others that do roadside assistance. And she has now employed 8 other EVSC technicians in order to fuel her business. So it's really a full circle moment, because we were training her for a job, and she became a founder and a job creator who has space here at New Lab.
That just warmed my heart, Clorinda. Really love hearing success stories like that. For me, it comes to mind a gentleman named Mark. Mark is a phenomenal gentleman. Student from DPSCD schools, came to us in his 12th grade year, did our program. He went off to Michigan State to study technology, software development particularly, and we stayed connected with him, ensured that he had the support he needed, whether it was helping him with his resume or coaching him on his interview skills, helping him with his summer internship placements, right? And so he was able to go get placed. He started with us in our program, did the essential skill building piece. We placed him in a technology role over at Rocket, one of our flagship partners. He then went off to school, completed his degree, and after he completed his degree, he is now working as a sophomore engineer at Rocket. And so when you hear stories like that around that support that's needed and that career growth, is phenomenal. He's actually now a member of our alumni board. So excited to have him a part of it.
Yeah, Vester, I'll just add one of the very recent success stories, and we've had many in the GEM universe since we launched in early 2023. But one of the ones a program that we just supported was a welding program in partnership with Goodwill. And so the GEM funded students came out of there, finished, I believe it was a 12-week program. And they all came out with job offers and job opportunities, and have already gained employment from that program. And that was that graduation ceremony was just mid-March, I believe. So exciting. And that's just one of those careers that, we're supporting tech, we're supporting software developers, and it's great, that we're still supporting those other types of skills that, everybody's looking for those skilled trades. So good stuff.
Thank you all so much. That's awesome. I want to give a space just to see if there's anything that maybe I didn't ask that you want to share. I can start with Clorinda and then Alfonso. Anything that maybe we didn't touch on that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, we have opportunities for all learners. And so if you have young people, or you know of young people who need programming after school, and on weekends and throughout the summer, we have programming for that. Google Code Next is with us, Code 313, Lab Drawer. So we're really intentional about making sure that we're preparing for the future talent needs by creating these opportunities for young people. And then for kids or young people who are in college, I have a college age daughter, so she wouldn't saying kid. But for young people who are in college, we partner very closely with Michigander Scholars and My STEAM Ahead to make sure that our founders that need internships are able to access opportunities here at Michigan Central and at New Lab, just to, again, show them that the innovation economy exists here and they don't have to go to the coast in order to access that. And I'll just emphasize again, I am looking for companies that are interested in solving these problems and rolling up their sleeves alongside us and our partners at the state of Michigan and within Michigan Works agencies to really create novel solutions where appropriate. And so if you're interested in being a part of that business roundtable, please reach out to me via email and I will send you more details about that.
The only thing I have to add is I dropped the link in the chat. We have an event coming up June 5th that I think will be great for folks that are in attendance to this, around the same conversation on employers, connecting them. How are we doing our work here at Urban Alliance, taking a deeper dive. And so it's called Unlocking Potential, really focusing on employer partnerships and how we help build the next generation of the workforce and what that looks like. And so we have our wonderful partners at Rocket who will be on the stage, taking center stage, having a deep dive in this conversation. Multiple of our other partners like Bank of America, Henry Ford Health, and DTE will also participate in this conversation with us. It's a great way to come and be in the space of community with each other, learning from each other. And so we welcome you all to join us for that.
Thank you. And so I would just reemphasize, we have the platform in support of businesses that is the Mobility Talent Resource Network, where we're building out projects. I welcome businesses to come in and apply and, let us build out projects that help you attract and retain this great workforce in our Southeast Michigan region. In addition to that, the Michigan work system, we're partnered with all of them in our region. So Oakland County Michigan Works, Genesee Shiawassee Thumb, Michigan Works Southeast, all of them in our region. And they all have business service reps at each location. And I would reach out to them, to access all of these amazing programs that we're here talking about, whether it's a federal program, whether it's a state program. We know that you don't care what the acronym is. You just want to be able to upskill and reskill your workforce. And there are so many great programs available. So if you're not sure how to connect with them or where to start, by all means, reach out to me, and I welcome that and would connect you with the right people to support your workforce development needs.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And again, I want to now open it up for any questions. So if you haven't been able to put your questions in the chat, feel free to pop those in at this time. And then I'm going to bring Christy back on to kind of do a little bit of wrap up and talk through some of those questions. So Christy, welcome back.
Sure. Thank you all. This was great. Lots of activity in the chat. I'm going to start with a comment. We've got someone here who it looks like has some opportunity to promote programs inside Secretary of State branches, which I think is a good opportunity. We know where to find our K-12 students, right? They're in our schools. There's a very sort of concentrated place where we can find those traditional age students. It's a bit harder sometimes to reach adult learners who are not, going to school every day at a location where we can easily reach them. We try to reach them via employers. We know they're going to work every day, but finding other sources to reach these individuals, especially if they're not connected to employment at the moment, is really important and can be a challenge. So it looks like there is some potential to advertise in Secretary of State branches. So if that's of interest, just want to call that out. I will share one question that came through, and you've all touched on this, but you mentioned several resources that you all provide. Can you speak to how these services work together to support adults in building sustainable long-term careers after college? I think that career progression is really important, and making sure that people are moving along a pathway is something we think a lot about at the Chamber. So curious how you're supporting that long-term sort of pathway development for our workers.
I can speak to that a little bit. A couple of things come to mind. Number one, we support that short-term credential. We support the associate degree. We support the bachelor degree. We support that master's degree. So whatever level the person is at and wants to upskill or reskill through GEM specifically and through Michigan Works system-wide, the support mechanisms are in place for that. Additionally, and through the business to business matchmaking service, one of the categories is human resources consulting. And so for businesses, we are able to go in and do that performance management system, which can include career pathways, so that when you're attracting talent in their onboarding process, you can say to them, you can start at this point, and with this career pathway and with these upskilling programs, this is where you could be in X period of time. So we're supporting it on both ends of this of the spectrum there.
And for Michigan Central, part of my role is initiating and managing all university partnerships, and that will soon spill over to partnerships with community colleges that we've been talking to about true collaboration as well. But what that means is that we are working with them on curriculum development and credentialing, both in our pre-K-12 high schools where, we're saying, hey, we want to see more dual enrollment, and even our adult programs where we're asking for credit for prior learning and or articulation agreements. And so really what we're doing is actively bridging that gap, whether you're in high school and getting ready to prepare for a college or career, there's an opportunity to earn credits. Whether it's our partnership with UMCI and the work that they're doing with Saturdays in the D, that students are provided with a U of M credential. But most importantly, any training happening on our campus, it can be credit bearing. It can earn you credits towards a 4-year degree. And our partnership with Wayne State is one that I'd like to stand up in particular, because they are really actively and aggressively building out their credit for prior learning initiative, which allows for work experience as well as education experience in non-traditional environments to count towards degree curriculums.
And we have dedicated staff on board here who focuses primarily on ensuring that these young people, their pathways they're sticking with their pathways that they put out when they sit with us. So they plan their whole pathway with us. When they come into intake, they get all of the information. What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now? And what does that look like? And we culminate that individualized plan with each of the learners. And then that staff person is checking in on that plan. So they set those SMART goals and they're checking in on that plan. And they check on that plan for years. And so we use that for our method on, hey, this person said that they were going to go to, let's say, Eastern Michigan, and they're going to do 4 years at Eastern Michigan. So we check that yearly. We check the NSC to make sure that they are registered, they're there, they're connected. If they are going straight into the workforce, we're still with them and saying, okay, you got the entry-level job as maybe a customer care specialist, but what's next, right? Like, where do you go from there and how do you grow? Do you need additional degree or certification? And then we guide them on where they should go for those degrees or certifications, sending them to folks like Jacqueline or Clarinda, right? And then making sure that they complete those programs when they're with them, right? And so we stay there as a resource for them as well.
Thank you all. Clarinda, the point you made about credit, recognizing prior learning for credit is so important. We know that most people are not on a linear path. People start and stop, they get a certificate, they work for a few years, then they want to go back. And we need to really make sure that that learning is recognized and that people are not losing credit and losing time and money as they move along that pathway. So really appreciate that you brought that up. The Chamber is doing some work to support better credit mobility in our region too. But we know more and more people have fits and starts in their education. So trying to meet them where they are and recognize that is really important. So thank you for sharing that.
Christy, I just have to add on. I love that. That's such a great point. And one of the other organizations that's working toward that is MW Tech, the Michigan Workforce Technology and Education Center, and in collaboration with our community colleges across the state, right? So that those short-term credential programs, nothing breeds success like success, right? You get that one certificate and you're like, oh, I could do this, and just keep adding on to that.
Thank you. That's a great call out. Another question that has come up, which I think is very timely. There is a lot of talk right now about a potential economic downturn and really thinking about the economy. So what services are available for adults who have had many years of work service but are being displaced and looking for work? How can they get training and support?
Well, the Michigan Works system is built around that. And, some of the funding and, again, an acronym, it's WIOA, but there is dislocated worker training funding. And so it will enable you to enter into training programs that are funded through various sources. And then there are wraparound services associated with that as well. So that, on top of your unemployment, if you're dislocated or unemployed, in addition to your unemployment, there are other wraparound service dollars to support you. And again, accessing that Michigan Work system is critical for those persons who are feeling displaced.
Yeah, I think the wraparound services are really important. Michigan, we're very lucky as a state because we have a lot of financial investment in education, both for employers and for learners. We have the Going Pro Talent Fund. We have the initiatives that our panelists talked about today that are focused on training dollars for employers. We have Michigan Reconnect that provides a tuition-free community college pathway for adults. We have several Promise programs in our state that provide tuition-free college for students graduating from high school in certain cities in our state. So we have a lot of financial investment in training, but we know that finances are only one barrier that people face, and it's important to look at the other barriers and make sure that we're accounting for some of those things. So thank you for bringing that up. I think those wraparound services are going to be really critical. I think that is all of our questions. So I'll keep looking as we wrap up, but just a reminder, this session is being recorded. We'll do some follow-up after we end today. That includes some links to the programs that we talked about, the recording, and also contact info, certainly for myself and for Vester, but I know I think the panelists have all dropped emails in the chat. If not, please do. We have some requests for contact info for panelists. So in case people want to reach you directly, I want to make sure that they're able to do that, but we'll also provide follow-up and make sure you know how to reach us if you have questions or want to collaborate on any of the things that we discussed today. So thank you again to our panelists. This was a great hour discussion. I learned a lot, and it's always good to hear student stories and see how this is impacting our students directly. So thanks to our panelists, thanks to Vester for moderating, and thank you all for spending a morning with us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank
having us.
you.